Hey, this is Notos View. I'm known in the Robocraft community as Steel11, a Robocraft veteran of 3 years, and a member of Atlas Core for almost 2. I have a few tricks up my sleeve that may be able to help you out. So, there are pretty much 3 things that determine your success in this game, and that happens to follow pretty closely to Robocraft's logo: build, drive, and fight. Firstly, you're going to want to get a pretty good grip on how the build mechanics work. There are quite a few aspects to this, and I'll walk you through most of them. I'm sure you've heard this word circulate a lot over your experience in this game, and if not, I'll explain. Triforcing. Now, this might sound scary, but at its basics, it's just simply routing damage away from a part you want to protect. So, to know how to route damage away from a part, you'll need to know how the damage spread actually works in this game. Pretty much, if I were to shoot at this block here with a high damage shot, this block would be destroyed. But the damage doesn't just stop there. The damage has to actually continue onto blocks that the damaged block connects to. So that would include this block, this block, this block, and actually this block here. So by destroying this block, the overloaded damage will destroy this block, this block, this block, and this block. That now means that this weapon has been destroyed from one shot, where it could have been avoided. To mitigate this, you can make the connection point to an important part not actually touch the affected block, the damaged block. So now if you were to shoot this block here, the damage will get transferred to this block, and this block, and then conversely to these guys later on here. But now, so you see that the damage is only going to these blocks here, leaving this block untouched, which is exactly what you want. Now that I've shown you the most basic form of triforcing, I'll get into some of the cooler stuff. So another way to protect weapons is by rod forcing. And that's pretty much extending the connection point of this gun down to here. So this gun isn't going to get destroyed by damage transferring from any block, as you can see. The only way this gun is going to get destroyed is by damage actually hitting the gun itself, the rod, or the connection point of the rod. So this can definitely have its uses. Let's take the idea of triforcing up a notch. What you can actually do is create a bot in a way that you have your core components, let's say a module and a few hovers in the center, and then around that you make a shell of blocks. What you can do is make it so that the shell of blocks will have no way of transferring damage to the inner components unless it touches one of the connection points. So in this example, I've got a simple hover design cut out of course, and it's got a module in the center holding all the hovers together. Now let's say if we were to remove this one connection point, see, the whole shell is not connected to the inner core at all. Now one connection point is definitely not optimal, because what happens if the outer shell has more CPU than the inner core, then the inner core will actually break off. So if we were to load out the outer shell with a high CPU component, let's say we wanted a Mega Plasma and a few medic guns, the core would actually break if this connection point was broken. So you want to make your bot in a way that the connection points are only going to be destroyed when the outer shell has had enough CPU damage taken. So when the connection point is actually broken, the core is preserved and you'll still run away alive. Now only having one connection point is probably not optimal, so you'll probably want to work with having 2 or 3 connection points. So if you accidentally take damage to that connection point, you don't lose the entire core. This is an example of how you can implement a core system into just about every type of bot. What I have going on here is a few rods and wings just simply connecting each other up to create a solid core. This core will be connected to the outer shell using these 4 blocks here and possibly a connection point here, but that doesn't really matter. The goal of this is pretty much just to make this part here the last thing alive on my bot. The bot I actually implemented this into is here. I have it cut in half for demonstration's sake. This is the outer shell pretty much. So what I have going on here is a tetraweave. I'll explain the exact function of that in a second. But pretty much I have the inner core attached to the outer shell using these connection points here and here. And this means that generally speaking, the only way the inner core is going to get damaged is by SMG fire or rail fire hitting these wings directly, or the entire bot being destroyed, which serves its purpose pretty well. So the reason I have this weird tangle of triangle blocks here is to actually create a layer of sorts. So let's say if I was to get hit by a high powered SMG on this block here, the damage would spread to here, here, here and here, not travelling upwards at all. The goal of this is pretty much to spread all the damage on the bottom layer without reaching the second layer first. Here's just some examples of where cores have saved my life or other people's life in case you need a justification. There's a few really finicky aspects to the building in Robocraft. To start, you'll notice that I have a few blocks placed, and actually I have a 0% health boost. That's because cosmetic cubes don't give any health boost, as opposed to the 0.06% normal cubes give. But cosmetic parts may actually be quite useful for protecting parts. Let's say I was trying to protect this block here from damage. Say if I was to damage here, if I was trying to shoot at it, it would get obstructed by a cosmetic part, leaving it protected. But the damage doesn't just simply disappear. It gets transferred to the block that the cosmetics cube is connected to. So it would transfer damage to this block, this block, this block, and this block, these blocks. So there's a couple other things in regards to the weapon that might seem too obvious. So let's say I was to shoot a rail shot at this block here. You would expect it to just annihilate this one block here, but instead, let's say if it was a low damage rail, so it would actually destroy this block, and destroy this block. The way this works is rails actually shoot 3 consecutive projectiles, damaging, so let's say we pick the lowest tier rail. So the damage is 33,000 per hit. What it actually does is shoot 3 11,000 damage shots. So 11,000 would go to this block, 11,000 would go to this block, and 11,000 would go to this block. This is just to give the rail some penetration. So probably the next most important thing when it comes to building is knowing that the health boost, this little icon here, actually affects every individual part. So if I go to this button, so this SMG, it has a base health of, so if it's got a base health of 22,000 plus a almost 100% health boost, it's effectively got about 40,000 HP. So you're going to want to take that into consideration when fighting other tanky bots or building your own tanky bot. Other than the health boost, there are 2 other types of boosts, the damage boost and the speed boost. The damage boost is determined on your CPU, but it's not a straight curve. It's pretty much makes it so that to have the most optimal health and damage boost, you're going to want to hit 1625 CPU. But if you want to have a really tanky bot that can still output damage, you don't want it to be any more than 1875 CPU, since that's when the damage boost drop is the harshest. Speed boost works just similarly to the health boost. By every part that has the speed boost, it just applies a speed boost in that direction. Just note that the speed boost is only applied if the movement part is in that same direction. So if you see I place these side thrusters, it's not going to apply any more speed boost. It will count for speed boost if I was traveling left to right though, so you would travel left to right slightly faster. Now that I've given you a rundown on most of the build mechanics, I'll give you some tips that'll help you win some games. Just remember, most game sense will come from practice, and it's okay to start off being a noob. Everyone was there at one stage. An important thing to note while fighting is to know the effective engagement range of your bot and weapon. If you are a rail, you wouldn't want to be standing in a close-up roll, and if you're equipped with SMG, you'll want to stay at mid to close range. Just make a mental note of how close you are in relation to your enemy while fighting. A quick tip is that when fighting in a 1v1 situation, movement is key. Moving erratically can throw off enemies' aim, and matching your enemy's movement will increase your accuracy dramatically. In these two clips, you'll see that I'm matching their movement and getting almost perfect accuracy while barely moving my mouse at all. Thank you for watching. Whether you're a Robocraft veteran or new to the game, I hope you all learnt something.